Shalom, shalom. This is Moth by Yasharala Bonaparium. This is Moth son of Israel, son of Ephraim. And before we get started, I'd like to give all praises and honors to my power, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakadash. Shalom to the Akim, my wife, and the Bind that's tuned to this video. That's peace to the brothers, sisters, and children that's tuned to this video. Shalom, shalom. We're going to do a quick lesson. Disproving this Holy Trinity belief, right? Because people will say, they believe that Yahweh Shai is, Yahweh in the flesh, which is not true. And a lot of other, fables that are told. It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 8. So they read in the book in the law of the power distinctly and gave sense and caused them to understand the reading. You got to really, be a scholar and a student of this. You got to understand, you're not just going to read and be, understand everything. It's like you. It's through the precepts here a little, there a little. You got to be able to really, you got to study this, man. It's the only way that you're going to understand. You got to really be a student, right? That's why it says, blessed is he that readeth, right? So look, start of book John 10:30. I and the Father are one. So when people see that, he's like, yeah, exactly, that's what we're saying, right? No. They're saying, they're on one accord, right? Me and my brother, we're on one accord because we think alike, we move alike, we do the same things. We are one, but we're not the same person. I am not him, and he's not me, right? That's essentially what it's saying. The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 7. For there are three that bear record in heaven: the Father, the Word, the Holy Spirit, right? Which is Rakakadash. And these three are one. Again, so we're going to keep doubling down the fact when he's pulling those priests out saying they are one. And that's why people be like, yeah, they're the same person. I'm trying to tell you they're the same person. That's not what that's going into. It's talking about Slakia. Again, it's all essentially saying they're on the same accord, right? They will have different precepts to prove that they are not the same person, right? They are on the same accord. They are not the same person. This is a book of John chapter 14, verse 9. Yahweh saith unto him, have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me? Philip, he that hath seen me, seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? So when people will go here and be like, see, I'm trying to tell you, man. No. It's because they are one accord. They act the same way. They believe the same things. Everything that the Yahweh Shai is preaching is Yahweh's word, his Father's word. Right? That's not saying that that's the same person. And matter of fact, we'll bring it up. We'll bring that out later. I'll pull it up later. This is the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 49. And he said unto them, how is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business? He's about his Father's business, about Yahweh's business. If they were the same person, you say I must be about my business. So you see a lot of times when he talks about Allah, the Father, Yahweh, he says my Father, because they're not the same person. Because he would just be talking about me, right? The book of Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed. So this is Yahweh praying before he got crucified, right? Praying, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Do you see that? He's praying to Yahweh. Why would he pray to himself? If he was Yahweh, now granted, Yahweh Shai does have spiritual powers, but if he was Yahweh, he would just be like, no, this does not happen. But he knows this has to happen. Because he, in his past life, if you can understand, he went off. The only person that was perfect altogether was Yahweh. He's not Yahweh. They are different entities. I want to pull this up real quick. Whoa, Slocky. I don't like how that is. There we go. We're going to pull this out right now as a transfiguration, right? It's a book of Matthew chapter 17, verse 1, and it reads, after 6 days, Yahweh took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up the high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. So this is going into Yahweh Shai going into his heavenly body, right? his heavenly body in front of Peter, James, and John and John, right? Just then there appeared before Moses and Elijah talking with Yahushai. Peter said to Yahushai, Adawan, is it good for us to be here? If you wish, I will put up the three shelters, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Right? Now this next verse is very important. In the book of Matthew chapter 17, verse 5. While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. That cloud is like a chariot. This is Yahweh. It's Yahweh speaking. This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Yahweh came and touched them, said, Get up. He said, Don't be afraid. When they looked up, they saw no one except Yahweh. He basically said, Don't be scared, bro. This is my pops, bro. Chill. You good. They're not the same person. This is Yahweh speaking. This is Yahweh speaking. This is my son. Talking about Yahweh, whom I love and well pleased with. Listen to him. Listen to him. That's Yahweh speaking. So how can they be the same person? Come on. Y'all got to really use these precepts. You got to go through the precepts and read and study and be a student of this. You can't just, it will never work. You got to really like dive and indulge this bread to understand what's going on and not listen to these fables that people give you, because they're leading you astray to destruction. The book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 18, and Yahweh said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the power, Yahweh. Yahweh knows that he has to pay for those. He had to be crucified because he's paying. One, he's the propitiation for the Israelites, and two, because he had to pay for his sins that he committed as Solomon. If you have the spirit to understand, they're not the same person. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 36. But of the day, the hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Yahweh I don't know when he comes back, but the power that Yahweh does, because they're two different entities. They're not the same. They're not the same entity, man. So this whole Holy Trinity thing is a nothing burger. It's nothing. But I don't know if this lesson was edifying and able to exhort you. He give all praises and honors in my power, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Rakadash. Shalom to Malcolm, Michael, and the Banyam. That's turned into this video. That's peace to the brothers, sisters, and children. That's tuned into this video. Shalom.